Mr. Transformers 96 here with another video where I'm going to be doing a review of the Transformers The Last Night Deluxe Barricade figure. So this is my first Transformers The Last Night review, which is quite exciting. All the figures were just released yesterday, and I was able to get the three that I wanted, which was Barricade, Berserker, and the Voyager Optimus Prime. I got Barricade at Toys R Us for 15% off. They have a coupon for 15% off everything going on right now. And then I got the other two on HasbroToyShop.com for 20% off, which is nice. So I really do love the packaging on these. I think it's very nice. I like the size and the fact that it's a box and not like the other movies where it was a card with a bubble on it. And I do love the artwork on the side there, and as you can see, get the figure on the back as well as two other figures in this first assortment of deluxe figures. And then at the very top, because he's a Decepticon, you get the Decepticons at the top, which is quite cool. I like seeing the three of them together. That looks awesome. So on to the actual figure here. The figure's vehicle mode, obviously he does still transform into the classic Mustang cop car, of course, as Barricade always should. Looks very nice. As you can see, you've got police with the Decepticon logo there, and then on the side, to punish and enslave, which is written, which is kind of interesting because I'll show you when I get him into robot mode, his knuckles do not say that, and they should say that. So it's weird that they can write it on the car, but not the knuckles. But overall, looking very nice. You do have some lights there at the front to simulate the police lights. But it's a really solid vehicle mode. It does look very nice from the top. From the bottom, as you can see a few pieces of the robot, but not too bad. Obviously, this is where his gun and baton are stored. And there's a lot of empty space in here too, which is kind of interesting. Usually I feel like it's more compact, but he's somewhat of a shell former, so there is some empty space that's left. However, it's not bad. He's actually a pretty decent robot as well. And then the car, even with those items, it does still roll, which is nice. So that's very cool. His kind of barrel cannon accessory here is on two hinges and has two pegs. The pegs can go on the back here, and you can give him some like massive guns on the car, which is kind of fun. It's a nice little fun play feature for kids, so that's neat. And then if you want, you can also reverse it, and I give them either back guns or maybe some jet propulsion, whatever you want to kind of imagine, which is fun. That was a nice way to include this weapon onto the vehicle mode, but obviously not make it mandatory, so that's great. So let's transform him. Alright, so I've removed his weapons from the top and the bottom, but if you want, you can leave the bottom ones on. They will still be able to transform with them. But overall, what you're going to do is kind of just pop this little side panel out just a bit on both sides. You can probably kind of just stick your finger in here to get to this window to pop it up, because you do have to separate this panel. And I found that the pegs on the back can be quite sturdy, but there you go. As you can see, it's these two pegs that are just put right in there. So you want to get that up. Alright, then you want to attach or detach these panels so that they're not clasped together anymore. You can just lift this complete top assembly and then just fold in the windows. His transformation is pretty easy too. I do definitely like it. It's not terrible at all. Then just separate the legs. You can move his feet down and then extend out the heel. There you go. You want to make sure that you're going to see this little kind of a tan piece of plastic there. I mean, you don't necessarily need it. Like, you can have his heel like this. It still works, but you get more support if you have that little section out. So it's just some extra room there. And then with his arms, if these windows are not attached, then you want to just pop out the arms and rotate them up. There you go. Pop out the arms and rotate them up. Swing this assembly down. Then you can adjust the arms again, kind of raise this up. And then with the arms here, you want to move it so that the elbow obviously bends to the front, and then you can adjust his hands accordingly. There you go. get his legs pointed straight, and then the backpack area just sits right there. It doesn't peg into anything. However, it is still sturdy, like it doesn't, pop out of place there or anything, which is nice. But still, it just is. It's just a big kind of wall of a piece of a car, which is definitely disappointing. But there you go. That's the transformation. I like this transformation a lot. It's rather simple. It was easy to kind of like figure out, and it looks good. I think that it's a solid transformation. Alright, so going over the actual figure here, the head sculpt is really nice. I think that's one of the highlights of the figure. As you can see, looking awesome. It has, a bit of that kind of insect look with the fact that he has two eyes and kind of lacking that mouth, kind of almost has like little claw areas for the mouth. I like the movie designs for the head sculpts. I think that they're just kind of neat. I know that some people really dislike them though, but personally, I do like them quite a bit. And my only issue with the head sculpt is that the back of his head is this clear plastic, which looks awful. Like why would they make half of his head this clear plastic? It's completely terrible. I really wish that they painted that in the same color. And it would have been so much better had they did that. So it's just such a shame to see that they didn't. The front of his car, even though it's legitimately just the front of the car on his chest, it's so. In car mode, the front of the car is so aggressive and has so many of those add-on pieces that cop cars usually have that it actually looks like it's done some stuff to transform, and it doesn't look just so much like the front of a car. So although it's kind of like a lazy way to form the chest, it looks really good. Like it looks like that it's not just the front of the car, which is nice. So I definitely like that, and I do like the way that they've done the body here. There's lots of detail going on in this body, which is great. And as far as paint goes as well, I mean, you've got a black kind of underneath, and then there's some silver outlining these little pieces there, and then this little like crotch bit here is that dark blue. And the colors on him in general I really like. They're mixtures of two different shades of gray. You've got a lighter gray and then like a darker gray, and then you have this kind of, I would say, really dark gray, or kind of like a light black that highlights everything else, and then the dark blue, of course, which is kind of the signature kind of cop car color coming out, and then you have some red accents and some, for like the lights and things like that. But overall, I like the colors a lot. I wish that there was just more blue on them and less of the gray. But still, that's a very minor thing. Also, when I first saw these images, it looked like he was very blocky as far as his colors went. Like there's, blue here and then gray here. But in person, it mixes and melds very nicely. So I don't have an issue with it at all, which is great. I like his proportions as well. I think that looks very nice and very cool. He does kind of have just these like two, car panels on the side there. I wish that they had a little bit more articulation so you can kind of angle them backward. That would be quite nice, but instead, if you want to do it back, like they have to stick way over there. I wish that they would kind of angle in at an angle there, but that's okay. It's not a big deal. As far as his articulation goes, before we get into his accessories, is that his head is on a ball joint. It looks up and down slightly, mainly just swivel though, but you can obviously tilt his head a bit, which is nice. Ball jointed shoulders with a butterfly joint as well, so you can kind of position his arm back, or you can bring it more forward. The middle click is the most natural looking one, but you can kind of use that to give yourself some more articulation. There's a bicep swivel with just a single hinge elbow. The single hinge goes full 90 degrees, but it would have been nice if it was a double hinge. Then you have a swivel elbows, ball jointed hips with a thigh swivel, single jointed knees. Again, they do go 90 degrees, but it would have been cool if it was double hinge. And then the ankles are on a hinge forward basically, but no pivot. So overall, his articulation is quite nice. I would say it's pretty standard for what Transformers usually do. Just wish that they would have added some double hinges in some of these places. It's certainly not a deal breaker, and because the single hinge goes a full 90 degrees, you still get a good range of motion, but it would have been nice had it have some extra movement there. The backpack, as you can see, it is rather large, which is definitely a shame, but it is relatively flush to his body, so it doesn't stick out tremendously far, which is nice. But it is still annoying. I can look at this figure and not be annoyed by it, just like, kind of tune it out basically, just kind of naturally. So it doesn't bother me tremendously. However, I can see that being a big issue for some people. So, it would have been nice if they could have at least made this bottom piece like cut right here so that you can lift it up. I would have liked it to extend out a little bit further and not see anything at the bottom here. That would have been better for me, but still, it's not terrible. As far as his accessories go, his normal kind of cop accessories, you can say, are his baton here, which you can plug into his hand like this. And I did also see somebody say that it did not go in like this, and they were wrong. It does totally. So, that was something that was really disappointing to me. So when I got it in person and saw that they were wrong, it totally works this way, I was so happy because you can do so many better poses with him holding the baton like this. It's very cool. You can obviously swivel it in there, so you can go back like this, which is great. I absolutely love the baton, and I actually, it's really cheesy, but I do love the fact that this character has like cop accessories. I think that it's hysterical, first of all, and it's just super cool to kind of give him that theme, and I think it's awesome. So as you can see, you can store the baton on his thigh there. This is the same place that it's stored underneath the car as well. And then again with his gun, he can just plug it right into his hand, and it looks very nice. He's actually legitimately holding a gun the way a human would, rather than kind of his hand transforming into a gun like it usually does in these films. But it's very cool. I definitely like it a lot. And obviously these work on both sides, and you can plug it in to the other side here. If I can get there. Which is very cool, and it looks like it legitimately, fits in very nicely. It looks like they're in kind of like holsters and stuff, which is neat. And then he does come with that barrel gun accessory, which just plugs into the back right there, and then you just swing these around and kind of just connect them. They don't necessarily tab in, but they do kind of fit into place. And as you can see, he does have that kind of large barrel accessory piece, which is very cool. I think that's going to be an awesome gun in the movie. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't use the gun or the baton and he only uses that barrel gun, and those are just more for looks. I would totally imagine that being the case. So that barrel gun, I think, is going to be awesome, and it's so unique that I would definitely imagine that he'll use it. The things that he doesn't have, which I would have liked to see, which the actual character has, is the fact that he doesn't have his badge sculpted here. In the actual movie, he has a necklace with a Decepticon badge on it that he's wearing, which again is super cheesy, but I just love it. And he also doesn't have handcuffs. In the movie, he has handcuffs on his belt. That's not a big issue for me. He's obviously not going to use the handcuffs. That's definitely just for looks. But it would have been kind of nice if it was sculpted on. But it's certainly not it's not horrible. So overall, I actually love the design of this character, and I think that the figure is executed very nicely. Oh, first of all, I do want to just say that on his knuckles, as you can see, you do have serve written backwards and protect written backwards. In the actual movie, he has enslave and punish on his knuckles. So it is kind of strange that the figure has the serve and protect, because if I'm not mistaken, he actually has enslave and punish on his knuckles. But still, that's a very minor thing. Overall, though, looking like a great figure. I'm very happy with this character design, and the figure itself I do really enjoy. I would just say don't pay full retail for it, because you don't have to. It's pretty easy to get these figures on discounts, so I would definitely recommend this figure, but only on a discount, because it should be very easy to get it on a discount. I will say that I can't wait to see Barricade in the movie. So far, we've seen plenty of promotional images for him. However, we've not seen a single image of him actually in the film. So I'm very excited to see him in the film and see how cool he is. And I'm also really has my fingers crossed that 3A will make a figure of him as well. I think that would be spectacular. Sorry, I forgot to show this, but as you can see, here's a comparison with the barricades of the movieverse. We have the movie 1 barricade, the obviously Last Night, and then the Dark of the Moon barricades. As you can see, they look very nice together. His design has drastically changed, and overall, I'm very happy with it. I was never a big fan of the original barricade design. It was fine, but it was extremely plain in my eyes. So this new one, I just like a ton more. But as far as the figures compare, the Dark of the Moon and Last Night figures are very very similar in their scale as well as somewhat in their simplicity. They obviously have a similar amount of, steps of the transformation, things like that. So I definitely would compare the two of them together. They look very cool together because they're in the same scale, and obviously they're the same character but very different interpretations of that character. So there you go, that's my review, and thanks so much for watching.